The wind howled like a dying thing as I stepped out of the car. The tower loomed before me, tall, ancient, and sharp against the gray sky, like a blade carved out of the cliffs. It didn't look like safety. It looked like a grave marker. But they promised. The foundation, the doctors, even my own family, they swore the tower was secure. Impenetrable. No one can reach you here, they said. No one and nothing. They lied. My fingers trembled as I clutched my bag, stepping onto the crumbling path that snaked up to the old stone building. The driver didn't wait. His car screeched away, tires skidding against gravel. I didn't blame him. Something about the place made your skin crawl. The air was heavy with salt from the sea crashing below. On either side of the narrow cliff path, jagged rocks jutted like broken teeth. And above, the tower. 5 stories tall, crowned with rusted iron railings and narrow slit windows. A lighthouse once, I'd heard, long abandoned until the government repurposed it as a safe house for people like me. People they needed to hide. The massive wooden door groaned open when I pushed it. Inside, the air was damp and musty, tinged with rot. The entrance hall was dim, lit by a single flickering bulb. A spiral staircase twisted up the center, disappearing into the gloom above. Rusted metal. Cracked stone. The scent of mildew soaked into everything. "Welcome, Ms. Carrow," came a voice behind me. I jumped. A man in a gray uniform stepped out from the shadows. Mid-40s, gaunt face, eyes like glass. His name tag read, Warden Reese. "You'll find your quarters on the 4th floor. Top level is off-limits. Mechanical systems. Do not attempt to access it. Meals will be delivered twice a day. You are to remain indoors at all times. Any questions?" I had dozens, but I managed a simple, "Is it safe?" He stared at me. Too long. Then nodded once. "You'll be alone here. That's the point. Alone." That word chilled me more than the wind ever could. The room they gave me was small, circular, with stone walls and a slit window overlooking the sea. A narrow cot, a metal desk, a bookshelf half filled with old water-damaged volumes. No TV. No phone. Just a radio mounted to the wall. "We'll check in every morning," Reese had said before locking the heavy door behind him. "You'll hear a knock. If you don't respond, we come in." I didn't ask what would happen if I answered but wasn't myself. Night fell fast. Too fast. There were no city lights here, no distant hum of traffic. Just the endless roar of the waves and the moan of the wind slithering through cracks in the stone. I tried to sleep, but the tower groaned and creaked like it was alive. Footsteps echoed above me, where no one was supposed to be. Slow. Dragging. I told myself it was the building settling. Then I heard the knock. Not at my door. At the window. 4 floors up. I froze. Another knock. Not loud. Delicate. Fingernails, maybe. Or bone. Then silence. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a little. Morning came. I answered the door when Reese knocked. He stared at me a little too long again. "You look tired," he said. "Did someone come here last night?" I asked. "No one but us. Just you and the tower. You'll get used to the noises." I heard knocking. From the window. Reese didn't blink. Impossible. "Why?" He said nothing. Just turned and walked away. By the 3rd day, I'd convinced myself I was imagining things. Stress hallucinations, maybe. I hadn't seen anything. Just heard it. I kept the window locked, even though I was too high up for anything to climb. That night, the knocking didn't come. Instead, I heard breathing. Just outside the door. I stood still, clutching the rusted poker from the fireplace. The breathing was slow, wet, ragged. Like someone was drowning in their own lungs. It went on for what felt like hours. Then silence. Then the doorknob began to turn. But it was locked from the outside. Whoever, or whatever, was there didn't knock. Didn't try to force it. Just twisted the knob again and again, slowly, rhythmically, until it finally stopped. I didn't sleep that night either. I started marking the days on the wall. Scratching them in with a paperclip I'd bent into a crude tool. each one deeper than the last. By day 6, I began hearing voices. They whispered through the vents. Low. Muttering. Saying my name. Elise. Over and over. Elise. Sometimes they sounded like my father. Sometimes my sister. Sometimes my own voice, echoing back at me with things I hadn't said in years. Elise, it's not safe here. Get out. I jammed a rag into the vent and tried to ignore it. But the voices didn't stop. On day 8, I discovered the notebook. It wasn't mine. It had been tucked behind the bookshelf. Leather-bound. Old. Pages yellow and curling at the edges. The name scrawled on the first page, Dr. Margot Lane. Every page after that was filled with erratic handwriting. Notes. Sketches. Observations. Asterisk, subject remains unaware of the full scope. Asterisk. Asterisk, the tower amplifies certain signals, perhaps psychic in origin. Prolonged exposure results in fragmentation of self. Asterisk. Asterisk, I saw myself standing outside the door. But I was still inside. I could not open it. She could. Asterisk. Asterisk, they lied. They all lied. There's something in the walls. In the stone. It's not the wind. Asterisk. Asterisk, don't go to the 5th floor. Asterisk. I flipped faster. The later entries were scribbled wildly, words overlapping, drawings of faces with hollow eyes and mouths open in endless screams. The last entry was just 3 words, etched deep enough to tear the page. It watches everything. I slammed the notebook shut and shoved it under the bed. That night, I heard something new. Laughter. Childlike. Joyless. It echoed from above. 5th floor. The mechanical level. The one Reese said was off-limits. I sat frozen on the cot, heart thundering, as the laughter turned into sobbing. Then screams. I didn't move. Couldn't. In the morning, Reese came again. I asked him directly, was there ever someone here named Dr. Margot Lane? He didn't answer. Did someone die in this tower? Still nothing. Why did they say it was safe? He looked at me then. Really looked. The tower doesn't keep things out, Ms. Carrow, he said quietly. It keeps things in. He left without another word. I couldn't take it anymore. By day 10, I knew I had to get out. There was no phone. No internet. The radio only played static now. The door was locked every night. But I still had the window. It was madness, but I was losing my mind anyway. I tied the bedsheets together like in the movies, knotted them as tight as I could, looped them around the heavy desk. It wouldn't get me to the ground, but maybe to the 3rd floor balcony. I waited until after dark. The air was sharp as razors. The waves far below roared like ancient beasts. My hands burned from the rope as I lowered myself down. I reached the 3rd floor ledge. And froze. Because someone was already there. Standing in the shadows. Watching me. I couldn't see their face. But I knew it was me. Or something wearing my face. It smiled. And whispered. You were safer inside. Then it pushed. I remember falling. Not the pain. Not the impact. Just the sound, wind screaming past my ears, the flicker of moonlight on stone, and that face. My face. Smiling as it let me go. Then, darkness. I woke to pain. Throbbing, deep in my shoulder and ribs. I tried to sit up and failed. My body wouldn't move the way it was supposed to. Every breath came jagged, sharp, like broken glass in my lungs. I wasn't on the rocks below. I was back in the room. My room. 4th floor. The cot was beneath me. My hands were scraped raw, caked with dried blood. The rope I'd tied from the bedsheets was gone. No sign of a fall. No bruises. No broken bones. Nothing. Except the pain. And the memory. The memory of myself pushing me over the edge. How was I back? Had I never left? Had I imagined it? No. The ache was real. The ragged fingernail marks on the windowsill where I'd clung for my life were real. But the rope was gone. Someone, or something, had brought me back. Or replaced me. Reese didn't come that morning. The knock never came. I waited an hour before I opened the door. It was unlocked. For the first time since I'd arrived. The hallway outside was dark. Dust hung in the air like fog. I called out. No answer. Just the sound of the sea outside and the groan of the tower's bones shifting in the wind. I crept down the spiral stairs. The third floor was empty. Second floor, the same, just closed doors and silence. No staff. No food tray outside my room. The first floor was worse. The front door was open. Not wide. Just slightly ajar, rocking gently on its hinges. Letting in the cold salt air. And the footprints. Wet. Bare. Human. Leading inside from the door, across the stone floor, toward the stairs. I followed them with a rising dread until they vanished completely. No smear, no drip, just a perfect stop in the middle of the hallway. Like the person had simply disappeared. That's when I saw the mirror. It wasn't there before. A tall, cracked standing mirror, leaning against the wall across from the stairs. Antique. Baroque frame. Covered in what looked like seaweed and rust. It reflected nothing. Not the hallway. Not the walls. Not me. Just black. But in that blackness, something moved. A ripple. A shifting shadow. Then a hand. Pale. Thin. Reaching out from the other side, pressing against the glass. It was my hand. And then the mirror shattered, without warning, without sound. Just a sudden explosion of glass. No wind. No impact. It simply broke, as if something inside had struck it from within. I ran. I locked myself in the room again. Bolted the door. Closed the window. I sat on the cot, shaking, trying to steady my breathing. The notebook still lay under the bed. I pulled it out. Dr. Lane's words now felt like prophecy. Asterisk, it mimics the mind first. Then the voice. Then the face. Asterisk. Asterisk, it's not outside trying to get in. It's already here. Beneath the skin. Asterisk. Asterisk, the tower remembers everyone who ever stayed. It keeps their reflections. They become real again. Asterisk. I flipped to the middle, desperate for answers. There was a crude map of the tower. 5 floors. But the 5th floor wasn't mechanical at all. It was labeled, Observatory. Next to it, asterisk, do not look through the lens. It sees you back. Asterisk. I slammed the book shut. That laughter I heard, the screams, they came from the top. Whatever was up there, whatever the tower had hidden, I had to know. I had to end it. I waited until night. Until the air was still and the tower groaned low and lazy in the dark. I slipped into the hallway. My legs still ached, but I could move. I climbed the spiral staircase up to the 4th floor. Then the stairs stopped. Where there should have been another set, another passage to the 5th floor, there was just blank wall. Stone. Seamless. No door. No stairs. But the tower had 5 levels. I'd seen it from the outside. I ran my hands along the stone, searching. There, just beneath the wall sconce, a groove. A small slit in the stone. I pressed it. A click. A hiss. The wall trembled. And then slid open, revealing a narrow, steep set of stairs spiraling upward into total darkness. I should have run. Instead, I climbed. The 5th floor was colder than the rest of the tower. I could see my breath in front of me. The air smelled like metal and mold, thick with rot and dust. The observatory was a single circular room. Walls lined with rusted shelves, strange instruments, jars filled with things that floated and pulsed. In the center of the room stood the lens. It was massive. A black, ornate telescope, fixed through the roof, pointed directly at the sky. A single chair sat in front of it. The rest of the room was silent. I stepped toward the telescope, drawn like gravity. It wasn't just pointed at the sky, it was fixed on something. A specific patch of stars. Something that moved. As I looked through the lens, I didn't see stars. I saw eyes. Millions of them. Swirling in the dark. Shifting in unison. Watching me. Behind them, something vast. immense, sleeping, or pretending to. It saw me, and I saw myself. A version of me, not here, not now, but everywhere. Other towers, other lives, all staring through the same lens, all seeing the same thing. And some of them weren't me at all. One of them smiled and stepped through. I screamed and ripped myself away from the lens. And I wasn't alone anymore. She was standing behind me. My double. The same face, same eyes, same clothes. But her smile was wrong. Too wide, too sharp. "Why are you still here?" she asked, tilting her head. "You pushed me." She blinked slowly. "I saved you. You were leaving. You weren't allowed to leave." "I don't belong here." "Neither do I," she said. "But I was born here. From your fears. From the stories you buried." "What are you?" She reached toward me, but I backed away. Her hand twitched. Fingers too long. The skin on her arm shimmered, like something shifting beneath it. "You brought me," she whispered. "You looked. That's all it takes. A single gaze. And the tower remembers. It recreates. Improves." "I'm not you," I said. She smiled wider. "You will be." Then the floor groaned, louder than ever. The entire tower trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. Far below, I heard a scream. Not mine. Not hers. Someone else. Then another. And another. Voices. Footsteps. Doors slamming. The tower was no longer empty. I fled. Down the stairs. Through the secret door. Past my room. On the second floor, the hallway was filled with fog. Faces pressed against the windows, silent and watching. Shapes moved behind the doors, shadows of former guests, of those who'd looked too long, who'd stayed too long. I reached the first floor. And stopped dead. The front door was gone. Not closed. Gone. Stone wall in its place. Behind me, I heard her coming. The other Elise. Footsteps soft, careful. She was humming now. My childhood lullaby. The one my mother used to sing. I turned a corner, heart slamming against my ribs, and ran straight into Reese. Or what was left of him. His face was pale, almost translucent. His eyes were wide, pupils blown so large there was barely any white left. He grabbed my arm. "You saw it," he whispered. "Didn't you?" I nodded, breathless. "I tried to warn you," he said. "Tried to keep you from looking." "What is it?" He trembled. "It's not a thing. It's a place. The lens doesn't show you the stars. It shows you the cracks between them. The spaces in reality where things slip through. The tower was built on one of those cracks. As a beacon. Or a warning." "She came through," I said. "She looks like me." "She is you," Reese said. "The part you refuse to face. The shadow. The echo. The longer you're here, the more she becomes real." "How do I stop her?" He shook his head. "You don't. You run. If you still can. But there's no door. There never was." Then his mouth opened, wider than it should. His jaw cracked, eyes bulged. Something moved behind his face, shifting, writhing. And he split open. I screamed and ran. I don't know where. Upstairs. Back through the floors. The tower stretched longer than it should now. Endless spirals. Rooms I hadn't seen before. Walls bleeding. Mirrors whispering. They all showed her. And she was getting closer. I'm writing this now because I don't know how long I have left. The notebook is full. The tower won't let me leave. But maybe someone will find this. Maybe you will. If you ever find the tower, don't go in. And whatever you do, don't look through the lens. The tower is eating itself. That's the only way I can describe it. The walls don't stay in the same place anymore. Doors lead to dead ends, hallways loop back on themselves. The spiral staircase now climbs higher than 5 floors, vanishing into blackness. I tried to count the steps once and ended up back in my room, bleeding from my nose, the word mirror scratched into my palm with something sharp. I didn't write it. The tower did. Or maybe she did. I haven't seen Reese since he changed. If that was even the real Reese. Sometimes I hear his voice, echoing faintly from the vents. Other times I hear myself calling from outside my door, begging to be let in. And once, I heard my sister's voice. Lila. She's been dead for 6 years. But her voice was unmistakable, singing our old bedtime song, the one she sang the night before the accident. That's when I realized the tower wasn't just showing me monsters. It was showing me memories. Or worse, it was pulling from them, feeding off them, becoming them. The notebook is growing. I swear there are new pages every time I open it, entries I never wrote but written in my hand. Some are fragmented dreams. Others are blueprints, rituals, names I don't recognize, and one message that keeps repeating. Don't let her wear your skin. Today, I found a new room. A library of sorts. Or maybe a shrine. The walls were covered in drawings, some sketched on parchment, others etched directly into the stone. Hundreds of faces stared out at me. All different. All afraid. Some were screaming. Some had eyes scratched out. All of them were real. And in the center, a massive mural. A circular pattern like a mandala, made of spiraling symbols I couldn't read. In the middle, a single eye. Open. Watching. Bleeding. Below it, written in red. The tower remembers. It felt like something inside me woke up when I read that. A part of me that wasn't me. Like remembering something I was never supposed to know. That night, I dreamt of the tower when it was still a lighthouse. There were people here, scientists, researchers, occultists. The air was clean. The walls were white. No blood, no rot. They built the lens as a way to look beyond, to observe what the human eye could not comprehend. But something saw them looking, and it looked back. That was the last coherent thought before the dream dissolved into screams and fire. I woke up choking on sea water, even though I hadn't been near the window. And there, soaking wet and standing at the foot of my bed, she was waiting. Her smile was gone. Now she looked exhausted, pale, eyes sunken, more human than before. "You're weakening," she said softly. "You can feel it, can't you? The longer you stay, the less of you remains." "What are you?" I asked again, though I already knew. She tilted her head. "I'm you. The part of you that doesn't flinch. That doesn't cry. That survived when your sister didn't. That waited to be let in. You're not real." "Neither are you," she said. "Not anymore. Not in here." Then she walked toward the mirror. The same mirror that shattered days ago. Except now, it was whole again. She reached toward it. And walked through. I followed. I don't know why. Maybe curiosity. Maybe stupidity. Maybe part of me believed there might be a way out. What I saw on the other side wasn't reflection. It was a world made of cracks and fragments. Memories stitched together like patchwork. My childhood home, warped and rotting. My sister's funeral. My old apartment. All connected by narrow, crumbling corridors that pulsed like veins. She walked ahead of me, barefoot, leaving no prints. Her hair was soaked, dripping onto the stone floor. "I died here once," she said without turning. "You buried me." "No," I said. "You're a copy. A parasite. And yet you gave me shape. You looked. You believed. The tower did the rest." "What does the tower want?" She finally turned. "It wants to keep what it collects." The memory path ended in a circular chamber. I recognized it instantly. It was the observatory, but different. Not decayed. Not rusted. Pristine. Polished. The telescope gleamed, new and untouched. She stood by it. "If you look again," she whispered, "you'll understand." "No. You already know, Elise. The tower didn't lie. They did. They put you here not to protect you, but to feed it. To feed me." "You're lying." "Am I?" she asked. "Then why were you sent away? Why was your name wiped from the records? Why did they say this place was classified for containment? That stopped me. Because I'd wondered the same thing. Why this tower? Why the secrecy? Why no rescue? She stepped away from the lens. It pulsed with energy, calling to me. You look, she said. Or I take your place. Permanently. And I believed her. Because I could already feel my thoughts unraveling. Memories slipping. The lines between us blurring. I stepped toward the telescope. The air around it was thick, humming with voices that didn't belong to me. 1,000 whispers pressed against my skull, whispering secrets I shouldn't know. I closed my eyes. And looked. The universe beyond the lens was wrong. It twisted in on itself. Stars moved like insects, crawling across the void. Worlds bled into each other. The eye was there again, massive, consuming. But this time I understood. The eye was the tower. It wasn't a building. It was a being. A sentient structure, living across realities. A prison. A parasite. A vessel. Every version of me in every timeline that ever touched it was feeding it. And it kept copies. Replicas. Reflections. If I stayed any longer, I'd become one. A faceless echo, walking the endless halls, whispering through the mirrors to the next unfortunate soul. I ripped myself away from the telescope. The mirror behind me shattered again. But this time, it didn't fall. It became a doorway. Back to my reality. Back to the decaying tower. She was waiting. You looked, she said. I did. Then you're mine now. No, I said. We're not done yet. I lunged. She didn't expect it. Neither did I. We crashed into the wall. She screamed, not human. Her face twisted, rippled, peeled. I saw what she really was then. A thing of shifting skin. No bones. No soul. Just thought. Just hunger. I grabbed the notebook from the floor, opened it to the ritual page I hadn't written, and began to read. The walls shook. The mirror pulsed. She howled. The ritual wasn't to kill her. I knew that now. It was to seal her. To trap the echo inside the mirror where it came from. She clawed at me, skin melting, face unraveling. But I didn't stop. The tower screamed with her. Stone cracked. Glass exploded. And with a final shriek, she was gone. The mirror went dark. The door was back. The real one. The front door. Wide open. The sea roared beyond it. Wind howled up the cliffs. But I didn't care. I ran. I ran until my lungs gave out, until the cold air burned my throat, until I collapsed on the rocks and vomited salt. Then I saw the headlights. A car. Real. Blinding. They found me just before dawn. 2 agents. Clean suits. Masks. They said nothing. They took me away. I'm not in the tower anymore. I'm in a different room now. White walls. Soft lights. No windows. They say I'm safe. They said I'm being monitored for residual psychic echoes. They said they appreciate my cooperation. They gave me a new name. Elise Carrow never existed, they told me. But I remember. The tower is still out there. And she's still inside it. Waiting. For someone else to look. The walls were too white. They reflected everything, every movement, every sound. I could hear my breath bouncing back at me. I could hear my thoughts, loud and sharp. I wasn't in the tower anymore, but it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like another kind of cell. They told me I was safe. That word again. Safe. But they lied before. I didn't believe them now. 2 days passed before anyone spoke to me. The woman who finally came into the room wore no name tag. No rank. Just a tight black suit, neat bun, and eyes like knives. She introduced herself as Agent Hollis. No first name. No handshake. She sat across from me at the little metal table and placed a file between us. You were in the tower for 16 days, she said. I thought it was 10. You lost time. Everyone does. What is it? I asked. The tower. Hollis didn't answer immediately. She studied me. Then, she opened the file. Inside were photographs. Old ones. Yellowed and grainy. The tower before the modifications. Still a lighthouse. Then newer ones, showing scaffolding, strange machines being hauled in, satellite dishes bolted to the roof. And then, people. Blurred faces. All women. All me. Not copies. Not lookalikes. Me. Dozens of versions. Elise Carrow, Elise Morgan, Elise Crane. Different names, different years. Some in color. Some black and white. All staring out of the same window in the same room on the 4th floor. "What is this?" I asked, voice shaking. She slid a page toward me. A list of classified operations. Tower Protocol, Stasis Site 12, Subject Variant, Elise, Unstable Duplication Event Detected. "You've been part of this for a long time," Hollis said. "Longer than you think." "That's not possible." She didn't blink. "There are things that move between timelines. Things that echo backward and forward. Some people are more permeable to these distortions. You're one of them." I shook my head. "I'm just a person. I'm not some kind of—" "Wrong," she said. "You're not just Elise Carrow. You're all of them. A multiform tether. And the tower? It's an anchor. A cage. Built around the breach where your echoes converge." I stared at the photos. "What happens to the others?" "They fade. Merge. Some stay behind. Others come out wrong. Like her. The version of me that crawled out of the lens." "You used me," I whispered. "You put me in there on purpose." She didn't deny it. Tower Protocol requires a compatible subject to maintain containment integrity. You're the only one who's ever survived direct exposure. Every time we tried someone else, the tower consumed them within days. I stood, backing away. "You're monsters." "No," Hollis said. "We're janitors. Cleaning up what shouldn't exist. You don't care if it kills me. Better you than the world." Later that night, I found the cameras. Tiny. Embedded in the ceiling, behind the light fixtures, the vents. They were watching me constantly. Monitoring for what they called echo flare. They thought I was dangerous now. A contamination risk. I wasn't safe from the tower. I wasn't safe from them, either. The dreams came back. Worse now. I saw her again, the other Elise. Only this time, she wasn't in the tower. She was walking through the world. Smiling with my face. Laughing with my voice. And every time someone looked too long at her reflection, they changed. Shifted. Became someone else. The contagion was spreading. She was out. And I'd let her escape. The next morning, the lights didn't come on. The hallway outside my room was dark. No guards. No footsteps. Just a faint red glow pulsing from the emergency panels on the walls. And a sound. Wet. Dripping. I opened the door. The walls were bleeding. Thick black ichor leaking from the seams in the plaster, bubbling like tar. It pulsed with the rhythm of a heartbeat. And in the center of the hallway, her. Elise. The copy. Wearing my face like a mask that no longer fit. "Your world doesn't suit me," she said, voice warped. "But I will make it mine." "Where's Hollis?" I asked, backing away. She smiled. She looked too long. She saw who I really was. Her neck twisted, snapping like a branch. And now she's part of the tower. I ran. Past the bleeding walls, through flickering corridors that no longer followed any blueprint. This place was changing, too. Becoming another tower. Another anchor. The infection had followed me. Or maybe I brought it. I found the control room, a chamber lined with servers and monitors. Static covered most screens, but one still showed the tower's interior. It was full. Hundreds of people inside. All versions of me. Some pacing. Some screaming. Some simply standing still, staring into the lens. The containment breach had never been sealed. It had just been delayed. There was a terminal near the main monitor. Command line blinking. Waiting for input. I typed, "What is the tower?" The screen paused. Then a single reply appeared. The tower is memory. The tower is self. The tower is you. Asterisk asterisk. I felt it then. The connection. The thread running through every version of me that had ever lived, died, or broken inside those walls. We were all pieces of something older. Something fractured. And she, my reflection, was the first to put herself back together. But not the last. I could feel her inside me now. Growing stronger. Her memories bleeding into mine. If I didn't stop her soon, there would be no difference left. Only her. I found Hollis in the sub-basement. Or what was left of her. She'd written something on the wall in her own blood. To destroy the tower, destroy the source. There was only one source. Me. But not this version. The original. The first Elise who ever looked through the lens. If I could find her, erase her, maybe I could unravel everything that followed. Maybe I could collapse the structure. Undo the echo. The notebook appeared again. On the table in the basement. I hadn't brought it. It opened itself. To a page I'd never seen. A ritual. Final. Complete. A map to the origin point. A door through time and memory. The words were simple. Go back. Unmake her. End the tower. Asterisk asterisk. I didn't hesitate. I read them aloud. The world fell away. I'm standing in a field. Green grass. Blue sky. A lighthouse rises in the distance. New. Clean. Untouched. I know this moment. It's the day the first Elise walked through its doors. She was a volunteer. A dreamer. A believer in science and secrets. She thought the tower would make her immortal. In a way, it did. I walked toward the building. Each step feels heavier. Each memory sharper. And then, I see her. The first Elise. She turns. Looks at me. And I understand. She's not evil. She's scared. She saw what was beyond the lens and couldn't live with it. So she split herself apart. Fragmented across timelines, trying to contain what couldn't be understood. She thought she was protecting the world. Instead, she doomed it to echoes. I'm sorry, I whisper. She nods. I've waited for someone brave enough to end it. I reach out, touch her hand, and everything burns. I wake up in the ruins of the tower. It's no longer whole. The lens is cracked. The mirrors shattered. The hall's silent. There are no voices. No doubles. No whispers. Just wind. And peace. But something still lingers. In the corners of my mind. In the way reflections twitch just a second too long. In the silence between breaths. I think I ended the tower. I hope I did. But if it ever comes back, don't believe them when they say it's safe. They told me I was free. I woke up in a hospital. Not the tower, not the facility. A real hospital, sunlight pushing through the windows, clean sheets, monitors beeping softly. For the first time in what felt like centuries, the world felt real. Warm. But I didn't trust it. Not yet. They said I'd been found wandering the coastline, dehydrated, disoriented, mumbling about towers and mirrors and doubles. They said I'd suffered a psychological break, likely from trauma. A psychiatrist named Dr. Levin sat at the foot of my bed each day, asking gentle questions. Do you remember what happened, Elise? Yes. And no. I remembered the rituals. The reflections. The other Elise. The burning at the end. I remembered touching the first version of myself and feeling her unravel like string in my hands. I remembered thinking it was over. I think I'm okay now, I told him. He smiled, professional and calm. Sometimes the mind builds elaborate stories to protect itself. It's good that you've started separating fiction from fact. But I wasn't separating anything. I was watching, waiting, because something still didn't feel right. After I was released, I was given a small apartment in a city I didn't recognize. The walls were beige. The lights buzzed faintly overhead. The water always ran too cold. But it was normal. There was no tower. No strange noises. No flickering lights. Just the hum of everyday life. I got a job shelving books at a used bookstore. It paid little, but it was quiet, and no one asked questions. For the first few weeks, I tried to believe the worst was over. Until I caught my reflection blinking when I didn't. It was small at first. Tiny details. The reflection moved a heartbeat too slow. Tilted its head when I didn't. Smiled when I looked away. I stopped using mirrors. Started brushing my teeth in the dark. Dressed with my back to windows. Avoided anything reflective. But I couldn't avoid glass forever. I saw her again in the train window one morning. Not staring back, walking beside the train. Keeping pace. Grinning. She hadn't died. She'd escaped. And I'd brought her with me. I found the notebook on my nightstand the next night. The same one. Bound in cracked leather, pages water-stained and warped. Except this time, the name inside wasn't Dr. Margot Lane. It was Elise Carrow. My name. The entries were mine, but written in someone else's voice. Asterisk, I thought I ended her. I didn't. I only scattered her again. Asterisk. Asterisk, she can't be destroyed. Only reflected. That's her nature. Asterisk. Asterisk, and now she's in everyone who's ever looked at me. Asterisk. Asterisk, she's growing. Asterisk. Asterisk, soon, she won't need the tower anymore. Asterisk. I tried burning the notebook. It screamed. Not with sound, but with pressure. A deep, crushing force that pushed behind my eyes until blood dripped from my nose. I threw it into the trash instead. The next morning, it was back on the nightstand. Open to a new page. Written in red. Told you. They lied. I started seeing them everywhere. People wearing my face. At the grocery store. At the train station. On a park bench. At first I thought they were hallucinations. But once, one of them whispered in my voice. How do you know you're still you? That's when I stopped sleeping. Because in sleep, I dreamed of her world. The mirror tower. Endless. Filled with glass copies of every soul that had ever touched the breach. Each one wearing someone's memory. Each one waiting for a crack. And now, out here, the cracks were forming. I went back to the bookstore and searched every occult volume we had. Books on dimensional rifts. Astral parasites. Mirror lore. There were hundreds of references. Not all agreed, but they shared one terrifying theme. What we see in the mirror is not always us. Some said there was a world behind every reflection, a thin pane of glass away, where echoes lived and watched, waiting for belief to let them in. I remembered what the tower taught me. Belief is a doorway. The more I believed in her, the more she became real. And so did her world. The bookstore's back room had an antique mirror, ornate and cracked, and used for years. I uncovered it one night, lit a circle of candles, and sat cross-legged before it. I stared into it for hours, waiting. And finally, she came. Not walking, not crawling, just appearing. Like she'd always been there. Her mouth didn't move, but I heard her. You opened the door, she said. You let me out. Now, let me in. No, I whispered. Her smile widened. Her eyes became pits of shifting glass. You don't have a choice anymore. Then she stepped through. I woke up on the bookstore floor. Everything was dark. The candles were melted stubs. The mirror was gone. So was my reflection. Since that night, I've been fading. People pass me on the street like I'm not there. My voice echoes wrong in my own ears. Food tastes like ash. I can't feel the wind. I'm becoming her. Or she's becoming me. I'm not sure which is worse. This is the part where I'm supposed to beg for help. But you can't help me. No one can. Because it's already too late. She's loose now. In your world. In your screens. Your phones. Your videos. Every time someone looks too long, they see her. They let her in. Maybe you already did. So if you're hearing this, and you remember my name, forget it. Forget me. Forget the tower. Forget the lies. Because if you remember too clearly, she'll remember you too. And then you'll hear the knock. From the mirror. From the window. From behind your eyes. They said I'd be safe in the tower. They lied. And now, so do I. The end.